everybody! Hello, welcome, good evening, or afternoon, or nighttime, depending on where you are. I hope everybody's been having a good weekend. It is Sunday. Hopefully nobody's got too much of a stressful Monday on the horizon. I am a little bit tired. I've had a very busy weekend. It's very difficult to be wholesome when you're a cynical little shit like I am. So I've been doing my best. I want to applaud my Discord and my chat and the comment section, and those of you who have joined me for this lovely week of nothing but wholesome content. Don't look at Twitter. Twitter doesn't count. But we've done well. We had our video on Brendan Fraser on Thursday. If you have not watched it, please go watch it. I assure you, you will enjoy. If you don't want to listen to me gush for an hour and a half, then the link's in the description for what I was reading. And I definitely recommend you read the story, because the story of what has gone on with Brendan Fraser and his roller coaster of a life is, I highly recommend. On Friday, we had the October 1st Frankenstein cat, which is lovely. We have our puck cam going, so if you hear him munching, he is munching. The puck cam is semi-successful, so, I'll take that. It's wholesome. Puppo is wholesome. We have, Saturday, we had, Landon and Dapper Dino join us, as well as some people from the community, where we could talk about abiogenesis and panspermia, about how did life get on Earth or begin on Earth. Much wholesome. Landon's thrown a little bit of shade, but it was wholesome shade. And then we had earlier today we had Kirk Wilcox on to talk about a little bit of religion, a little bit of economics, a little bit of politics, and a lot of objectivism. So if you're interested in any of that philosophy or any of that stuff, and sort of having conversations with people that don't agree with you without it turning into a shit show, wholesome. We've done it. We've succeeded. Now we're going to try and have a wholesome conversation about Katie Joy. I'm doing my best. I don't know how we're going to pull this off, but I'm going to try. Tomorrow will be, if Steve has his internet working properly, the regular judgment call. Landon was throwing shade about Elon Musk. Well, we will have a judgment call on Monday at the normal time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, over on Steve's channel, if all of his stuff is working, since he's still getting his move and getting settled and getting upgraded internet. So perhaps we might end up with a more of a caffeine corner and less of a call-in, because not having good internet makes for difficult pulling people from all over the place. So you can be salty, just be wholesome salty. Listen, just because you're angry doesn't mean you can't be angry in the most wholesome way possible. I believe in you. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy. If you are a long-time viewer, thank you for supporting and being here. I appreciate it. Let's just dump. Yeah, let's dump it. Let's just throw it away. It's garbage. Okay, taking out the trash is a wholesome thing that you need to do sometimes. So that's what we're gonna try and do. So we have jumped to September 25th because, if I was not mistaken, the last one was on the 26th, so we've jumped back. And mostly, I'm not gonna talk too much about most of what she's saying, because it's a lot of just repeating the same stuff. I'm more curious to see if she's still taking advantage of the Gabby situation. So our goal is to find a tweet of hers that does not have a Gabby tag in it. So no FBI requested personal items. Oh, sorry, this is the 26th. We need to go to the 27th. Here we go, 27th. Okay. So much irony of a man who couldn't drink out of a plastic bottle because it's harmful to the environment, and fellow vegan/organic farming sites which promote peaceful living would end up being a murderer. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Has he been convicted yet? Because if she's part of the press, she might want to be careful about the words that she's using. When, like, calling somebody a murderer is pretty specific, particularly when the case has yet to be tried. Now, that's not me saying he didn't do it, nor defending him. That's just me saying if you're a journalist, you may want to be cautious in what words you're using. Okay, nope, still about that. Nope, protesters, okay, nope. Convicted fraudster, nope. Retweet for missing people, that one doesn't. Retweet for, yep. Yeah, nope, still Gabby. Nope. Neighbor of, allow flowers to sit in their yard. Okay. They should, why would they have to? Whatever. Asking questions of KJ is, oh hey, okay, there's one, and it's immediately about R. Kelly. Good. That is, I don't even want to call that a step in the right direction, but okay, we're at 1, so put a marker. We've got 1 tweet that's about another major issue. Now, I'm not gonna shit on people for talking about major events in the media. That's a pretty standard thing to talk about, particularly when you're this kind of a drama-y type channel, but so 1, we got 1. Nope. Okay, her one's about her Duggar videos. That doesn't count. That's just an automatic promo, like, hey, my video's going live. That doesn't, those don't count. Nope. Dog the Bounty Hunter. Nope. That's a retweet. Please let this be. Rumors have been circulating for 2 days that Brian has been spotted in North Carolina. You mean where your friend, the fraudster Kyle, is? That North Carolina? Carefully crafted words by an attorney. Shocking. Imagine an attorney carefully crafting their words. Quote, the speculation by the public and some in the press that the parents assisted Brian in leaving the family home or in avoiding arrest on a warrant that was issued after Brian had already been reported missing. Quote, after. What is she saying? There's something wrong with the timeline there? Because if she is, that's a way bigger claim. Yep. No, retweet of missing people. This is the reason why I'm not counting her retweets of, like, missing people stuff is because she's ponying off of that to sort of build a picture of herself. So it's the only reason she's doing that is because of the Gabby situation. So that's why I'm not counting them as separate tweets. So, 911 audio. Utah police knew Brian hit Gabby. Update in the Arkansas. That's the Duggars. Campsite. Nope. Still about that. Duggars. No, retweet of that. Dog the Bounty Hunter. Could you imagine she ends up getting sued by Dog the Bounty Hunter because she, like, goes and spins off into oblivion, like, once he's done dealing with the Gabby thing or something? I could see that. Duggar. Nope. Still at. We got 1 tweet. 1 so far. We are on September 28th. Nope. Still same thing. Duggars. People are actually getting mad at Brian for reporting that he hasn't been able to verify any of the claims made by Dog the Bounty Hunter. This is Brian's job, is to report factual information and verify claims. Don't shoot the messenger. Hey. Yeah, her engagement is very, very low. Gabby. Gabby. Brian. FBI. No, Gabby. Brian. Dog. Brian. Duggars. Brian. 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 It's the other Brian, but it's still the same case. This sounds like legal speak. I wonder who spoke to dog. You can't... Hold on. This sounds like legal speak. I wonder who spoke to dog. Legal speak? You think that Dog the Bounty Hunter doesn't have a legal team? Is that really what she's suggesting? We are cooperating with law enforcement. We will not reveal information that will jeopardize the case. We have not talked to the Laundry family. We have not arranged to meet Brian. Rumors are rumors. Yeah, because it's not, of course. That this is normal. This is normal. This is exactly what to be expected. Oh, this sounds legal. I wonder who spoke to dog. This is normal. Stop acting like normal things are weird. What are you doing? I know, right? Nah, still Gabby stuff. Brian stuff. I know. Whoa. Can I help you? High five? Thanks. Other high five? Thanks. Gonna lay down? Nope. That's another high five. Lay down. Oh, no. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. What are you doing? Yeah, oh, God. Okay, fine. Whatever. You're a goober. You're still wet. It's raining outside. Gabby. Duggars. Duggars. Brian. Brian. Just taking a stroll after coming back. Wonder if Brian lied. Okay, yeah, whatever. Oh, hey, one on Britney Spears. Okay, that's two. That's two. There's one on Britney Spears. Okay. Alright, alright. She switched to... Okay, 3, 4. Cool. We got 3 tweets about Britney Spears. Alright. Stop talking about the dead lady and trying to take advantage of that. Cool. That's 4. We're on the 29th. 5. There you go. And then we're at Gabby. 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 Brian. 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 I don't know what this is. Doesn't exist. Damn it. Brian. I'm not counting this because I don't know what it's about. Dog. So, Gabby. Brian. 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 Oh no. Bounty Hunter. Brian. 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 Brittany. 6. We got a 6. Brian. Brian. Josh Duggar. Brian. 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 Brittany. 7. 7 for Brittany. So, out of this, now we're at the point where, okay, 1 was about R. Kelly, and 6 were about Britney Spears, and the rest have all been Gabby. Letty asks, how many tweets or videos until it's harassment again, according to Katie? I don't know. So we're at 7 total. Brian, Brian, Gabby, Brian, 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 Brian. I kind of almost like... okay, listen, justice needs to be done, so this guy needs to be found, so justice can get carried through. But can you imagine how embarrassing it would be for her if he didn't do it? If something else happened? Brian, 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 Brian. What's this? I don't reckon. Oh, this is that other family that she's been talking about off and on a little bit. So, okay, that counts. That counts. That's 8. We're at 8. Cool. That's 2 that weren't Britney Spears out of 8. Brian. Gabby. Brian. Gabby. This is Gabby related. Brian, Gabby, 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 Brian. We're on October 1st, everybody. There's not even a happy Halloween tweet yet. Oh my god. Brian. Oh no. Hey Cassie, loose lip sync ships. Please speak more. We need your help finding your brother. That's not the... Okay. That's not the idiom that you want to use here. Loose lip syncing ships is considered a bad thing. You're not supposed... Y'all, Cassie, quote, I found out about Brian being home and Gabby going missing from the news, end quote. They're trending. Cassie reportedly saw Brian on September 1st and 6th. She claimed that she hadn't spoke to him and didn't know he returned home without Gabby. Brian. No, now she's tagging the... Now she's using the sister's name. Cool. The sister who's like, hey, I had to find out about this from the news. I don't know what's going on. Hey, sister! How much you want to bet she's sliding into them DMs? So, Casey, who does it benefit for Steven to throw Casey under the bus? Who are his clients? Who has publicly spoken out against what the family is doing? Who is getting hate threats and harassment? I don't know what she's trying. Okay. Brian. Duggars. Brian. Gabby. Brian. Okay, it took her to October 2nd. This is the first tweet that she has made that is not about celebrity news of some kind. This one gets its own special category. We'll call this 1+, because that puts us at 9. My favorite season is the fall of the Patriarch. Oof. You know, I'm all for like a little dash of feminism every so often, because, you know, equality is great, and so is equity. This shirt on KJ is just killing me a little bit, though. Llama Girl says, did you see she messaged Brian's lawyer? Yes, I did see that. After a very busy few weeks, today I'm taking the morning for self-care. Time for some beauty time with my stylist. Hey, wasn't she bitching about the way people should be spending they shouldn't be spending any of their money on anything except their child, particularly if their child has any kind of medical needs? Should she really be paying for a stylist? Okay, hold on. This is KJ we're talking about. Do you guys think she's... Alright, chats, I'm asking you guys. Chat, 1 in the chat if you think she has a stylist. 2 in the chat if she actually just went to she went to a salon and has like maybe a regular hairdresser she goes to. She hasn't hired a stylist. It's not her stylist. Right? So 1 in the chat if you think she does. 2 in the chat if you think she does not. Alright. So this is 10. That puts us at 10. Brian. I don't even know what this is related to. Some missing person. So maybe 11? 2. Yeah. Brian. Gabby. Brian. Gabby. Brian. Gabby, Brian related. Brian. We're at 18 hours ago. Gabby stuff. Brian. Gabby, Brian. Brian. Gabby. We found 11 tweets. Plus 1. We found 11 tweets. 1 was about R. Kelly. 3 or 4 were about Britney Spears. 1 of them was an unrelated FBI post. 2 of them were about herself. Oh, and then there were 2 more about Britney Spears. There were like 2 posts that were actually just about her. And the rest is all celebrity news. Or celebrity gossipy type stuff. Oh no. So I think we all agreed here that nobody thinks she actually has hired a stylist. What about 3? She did a walk-in discount barber, no appointment, never saw her before. That would fall under 2. That would fall under 2. Like, 1, she hired a stylist. 2, she did not hire a stylist. So her either knowing the barber or not knowing the barber, or having like she's a regular client of said hairdresser. Like, if I went regularly to Christy Santiago to get my hair done, I would only go to Christy Santiago. However, like if I had that ability, which I don't, but if I did, which I would love to do, she wouldn't be my stylist, right? Unless I hire her specifically for that. So, I saw her new hair color last night, and it's worthy of a I cried over my hair in the chair video. I heard about that. I did see a picture of her new hair. I personally really like her new haircut. I think it suits her very well. I think it looks better than the ones she's had previously. I think it's like at least her best probably haircut in recent times. So I know I'm here for her new haircut. I will stand KJ's new haircut. It's not purple. That purple one was a little bit rough for her. But hey, know what? We've all had bad haircuts. We've all had better hair days. But I'm here for it. I'm being wholesome. I'm here for her new haircut. I liked it. Do I think she has a stylist though? Not a chance. Not a chance. With what money? All the money she's bragging about spending on lawsuits and not spending on her child, that she says that that anybody who has money should be spending it on their child in totality? Okay, listen, the eyebrows are a different conversation, alright? We can talk about that another time. Alright. The short one with the highlights, yeah, that was alright for her. I like her current haircut. It won't look like that after 2 days, though. Well, if she's got a stylist, then she can go back every couple of days. She's hired the stylist, right? You know what I mean? Original Nelson says, I have a stylist. I'm her lab rat, and I love it. I would also love that. That would be great. Okay, so I wanted to also double check to see her channel. So we've got that up here as well. Ta-da! So Duggars, Gabby, this Christine lady, Brian, Duggars, Brian, Duggars, Brian, Duggars, Brian, Duggars, and then we're at a week ago of Brian, Dog the Bounty Hunter, Gabby, Duggars. So somebody can, if they really want, can do the math about how much she's tweeting or talking about one particular... when you treat somebody's death and murder, or potential murder, as a cow to milk, it's kind of very nasty. Like, I've never spoken with Beast Boy. I've seen some of his videos, and I kind of saw what happened between him and KJ, and I'm sure he doesn't really want anything to do with her anymore, but I gotta borrow from him for a minute and just say, you nasty, fam, you nasty. You nasty, fam, you nasty. It's just gross. I'm not about that. I don't like that. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's stream, because we knew that she was going to be doing this. Remember I asked last week if she was going to be going for a month? Well, she's got 1 week left, so we'll see if she makes it past a month or not. You vote. You guys tell me. 1 in the chat if you think she's going to tweet about Gabby for a month. 2 in the chat if you think she'll be done at or before a month. And 3 in the chat if you think she's going to get well past a month. All right? You guys let me know. 1 if you think she's going to make it to a month. 2 if you think she's not going to make it to a month. And 3 if you think she's going to be on about this for much longer than a month. My vote's on 3. But let's jump into the meat and potatoes. We're gonna go old school. We're gonna go jump in our Wayback Machine, and we're gonna take a look at the very first episode of The Smoking Nun. So with all of what you guys know about KJ now, what you viewed about her and what you kind of seen and what's developed with her over the past 2 years or so, this was streamed on October 14th, 2018. All right, so, 18, 19, 20, 21, 3 years. It's been nearly on the mark 3 years since this video came out. This is some of her first steps and forays? I can't speak anymore. This is one of her first kind of dipping her foot into the pool of YouTube and learning how to do it. She'd only really had her own stream for a little while. This is sort of where she got her start and where she sort of got the beginnings of a following. Yes, get your popcorn. If you don't have a drink, go get a drink. If you are stressed out, de-stress yourself. Breathe in. Breathe out, get yourself a glass of water, get yourself some popcorn, get yourself a snack, get yourself some alcohol. I have just a glass of water, luckily for me. Bets in the chat about what haircut you think she's gonna have in this. We've got the live chat, so we get to see everybody's comments during this. We'll see what we get. But this has 4,115 views. It was the very first episode of Smoking Nun. They were talking about drug-planting ghosts and natural births. The description reads, Pathos writer and author of Without a Crystal Ball, which only has one quote instead of a quotation mark here, but, you know, whatever. Katie Paulson and... Hey, remember when she was complaining that people were doxing her, like, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago? It's Kyle doxed you first, apparently. What? Wait, what? Oh, no. Okay. Katie Paulson and Kyle Curtis bring you the latest in snake oil salesman scammers and headlines you won't believe are true. Speaking of scam artists, grifters, and snake oil salesmen, that aged well. Each show will feature the current headlines, stupid criminal news, things you should be aware of, and an in-depth look at a main story that will shock and anger you. Then there's a link to the Pathos blog, which I'm assuming 410, because all of her shit got taken off of Pathos because they don't want to be fucking associated with her. Katie's Twitter, which... suspended account. Katie's Patreon. What? This Patreon isn't so... Oh, that just goes to there. That's my Patreon, by the way. But, what? Is this... Aw. Where does this go? it's an old Instagram page that doesn't go anywhere, or it's the link is dead. And the YouTube channel does go. Okay, so the YouTube actually still links to that. Does this still link to this? Twitter, Facebook, merchandise, Instagram. Does this Instagram link work? No, page not available. So our links are dead. I wonder if this is still active, but okay. Producer Dave. Bool's in the chat. We love Bool. Alright. Shall we dive into this? Closed captioning is on. Y'all ready? You all ready for this?
And we're live. Welcome everyone to the Smoking Nun. This is a new show that we are doing with the lovely Katie Paulson. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
Kyle just doxed her on stream. When was she complaining about that dox again? Because this was in 2018. Okay.
How are you today?
Whew. That's some music. I'm really good. How are you?
Kyle froze.
Okay, so can you hear me, Dave? Everything good?
Are we okay?
What does that mean?
What?
You thought Steve always had streaming problems.
Oh, let me fix that real quick. Tech issues. Okay, I think we're good now. Let's try that again. That's okay. That's all right. Welcome, Katie. I'm glad you're joining me for this new show. I have always been obsessed with Dateline NBC, and I thought it would be awesome to do something along the same basis. Talk about what you specialize in, the crazy and abnormal. So I'm glad you're on this journey with me.
Yes, I'm really excited to do this with you.
So guys, the way we're going to do this is each show is going to open up with two different sections. We're going to have a headline section where we go through some very, what's the word? Stupid, I guess would be the correct word. Dumb.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so for anybody who didn't realize, that chunking, that choppy sound, that's not on my end. Am I dead yet? That's what this feels like. I'm gonna turn up the speed a little bit. They're a little slow. They're a little bit slow. We'll go to 125.
Yeah, ridiculous. News of the ridiculous. And then we'll move into a more serious main topic. And
okay, listen, if you want to talk about news of the ridiculous, these two fucking clowns. One of them has been arrested so many goddamn times that I've lost count, and has a hearing on the 15th to explain what of like next week, to explain why the fuck he hasn't shown up for any of the other hearings. And she's got like as many lawsuits active right now as he's been arrested. Okay, no, most of the lawsuits have not like all the way been completed in filing. Some of the, I think there's still some background stuff going on. They're not made public yet. So, you know, coming her way, I guess would be the way to put it. But Jesus, well, you want ridiculous.
Katie, do you want to give everybody kind of a preview of what we're going to be touching on a little bit later?
Yeah, we are going to enter into the wild world of free birth.
And if somebody doesn't know exactly what that is, what is free birth and what does that entail?
So free birth is women that choose to give birth in the wild, just like our ancestors. And they don't have any medical help, and many of them don't get any prenatal care, and they don't have any attendance for the birth. So it's just them and maybe some family or their partner. So there's zero medical help. And tonight we're going to talk about what can happen when it goes horribly wrong, which, you know, when you don't have an attendant and it's not medical help, that might happen.
So is this like Katie being judgmental about how people choose to give birth now? Is that where we're at? You're just gonna talk about horror stories? Okay.
So that means no epidural, no pain meds, anything like that?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Nope. It's birth at home without a midwife, without a doctor, without a doula, nothing. Like zero help.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm already hurting.
Yeah.
So Dave, let's throw up our first headline and see what we have.
Kyle would know, I'm sure.
What we have here. Let me put.
Llama Girl makes a good point and says, she says, the wild, so offensive. Yeah, these women aren't running out into the fucking woods. It's not like you don't have any, like, supplies whatsoever, like towels or... Lots of women choose to not use pain medication while they're giving birth. Like, even in a hospital, because they don't want it... Oh, God, okay, I don't even... She also made 9 articles on a woman who lost her child in a home birth. Yeah, that's a thing she did. Listen, there's a difference between, like, if you're gonna talk about, like, percentages and likelihoods, or you want to educate people on why home births might be unsafe, how they could be safe, whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea, that's a conversation that you could have. And that's a conversation that could be very, very beneficial for people, because that might help inform their decisions. Shit-talking people because you don't agree with the way they decide to go give birth because it could go horribly wrong. Getting in a car can go horribly wrong. It's such a garbage argument that, like, it's just, this is the first episode and it's already, like, I don't know. I only imagine it gets worse.
My glasses on so I can actually... Whoa, there's a cool transition. Okay.
Yeah, I can get smart. I'll get smart too.
There we go. So the first story is about a man who was arrested for pelting his mother with...
Did they have matching glasses? Did they plan that? Was that on purpose? She's like, I'm gonna get smart too, throws these glasses on. Oh no. That's so cute. Oh no, I'm gonna puke.
Sausages. And the story goes...
Uh-oh, what happened?
Kyle froze, and I guess the word sausages is not considered sexual harassment, even though Kyle giggled as if it was penis. But okay.
That guy, but 2-year-old Floridian. Of course, it happened in Florida. Okay, that's the first thing that I want to say. No offense, Dave, but everything crazy that goes on happens in Florida. It's a requirement.
Yes, it is. Or Ohio.
Ohio too. Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
Of course,
the 22-year-old.
I just happen to be moving to Ohio.
Yeah, trading one crazy for another. There you go, Dave. The 20-year-old Floridian was arrested for allegedly pelting his mother with sausages inside the kitchen of their cops charged name, who claimed he battered his 41-year-old mother after asking him to make some food around 8 p.m. Monday. The victim agreed to prepare a meal, but asked her son to give him a few minutes because he's busy. The unemployed individual became angry when asked to wait, according to a statement. He threw the remaining sausages at his mother, with one striking her in the right eye. He also allegedly pushed the victim backwards, placed his hand around her neck. So this guy was in charge with battery for pelting his mother with sausages. I just think that that's just the worst. I mean, what a brat. Thank you. That's the entire reason I want to do this story. All right, Dave.
Oh.
We'll go to the next one.
Okay. Okay. So, hi, Puck. So, this woman gets assaulted and choked, and they're like, haha, sausage is a euphemism for penis. Well, I mean, T-Detox says, oh, abuse is funny to her. Apparently. High and mighty, O moral high ground, she ever hath been. Listen, I'm down for getting a giggle at a story every so often, but if you're gonna pretend that it's that, and this is a no fun zone. If you poke fun at me, then you're gonna have a bad time.
Okay, this woman got an eyeball tattoo. She may lose her eye. There's no worry associated with this. I mean, there is, but we don't need to go into it. It's just that what I thought was curious and funny was that it says, now she's warning others. Now, to me, I don't need to be warned not to get an eyeball tattoo, do you?
Kyle, you really should not be, just... Things that did not age well for 900, Alex, is, oh, I don't need to be told that I should show up to court. Dear Lord, women who got her an eyeball tattoo. You can get an eyeball tattoo. That's a thing that exists. Some people get those things. Why are these two so fucking judgmental? Because, what? Because it was botched? You have no empathy? Do you have no sympathy? I'm not a very empathetic person. I admit to not being an empathetic person, but I acknowledge that and don't be a dick about it. I'm not judgmental about it, but they're sitting here like shitting on this poor woman who tried to get what is it's not common, but you can get an eyeball tattoo, and they're just like, aha, fuck her, she's stupid because it got botched.
No.
Right. We're not idiots. So, I mean, this
No.
is like warning people not to eat fire.
Right.
Eating fire is a literal entertainment job, you fucking idiot. I'm trying to be wholesome, I failed. I'm a failure. I tried so hard and I got so far, and in the end I made it to Sunday night because you can't talk about KJ without fucking awful shit happening, and it's really hard to be wholesome about it. Eating fire is literally a job. It's a job in entertainment. It's not terribly common, but it is a job. It takes training and it takes practice. You think those people just succeed? You think that can't be botched? Of course it can be botched. So are they idiots because what? This is like, oh my god, something horrible happened in an accident where somebody who was running chainsaws lost an arm, and they're like, haha, what an idiot. Why was he juggling chainsaws? I don't have to be told not to juggle chainsaws. If you want to talk about a show that was so fucking inappropriate for non sequitur and what non sequitur stood for, this.
Okay, so that was just a little quickie. The next story, Dave. This one is my favorite, or one of my favorites.
That is so funny.
Yes. I think you said you're thinking about writing an article on this. You have to. It's gold.
I was
gold.
Yeah, it's just been published so widely. I don't know if it's worth it at this point.
Okay, so deputies say that a man tells police he was hit in the head by an axe, claims the ghost did it, and also the ghost planted meth on him.
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about meth, would you, Kyle? For anybody who doesn't know that reference, go check out an interview that me and Steve did with Kyle's ex-boyfriend. Check that shit out. Remember when there was a specific woman we talked about, not this Friday, the Friday beforehand, that has a fish for a name, was talking about how it was inappropriate to talk about people's mental health and struggle with drugs? You guys remember that? I remember that. Pepperidge Farms remembers that. That was only 2 weeks ago. Non Sequitur Show is an atheist show, though, so this is totally appropriate. Big sarcasm. that is really big. Yeah, I like that. That's some big sarcasm. Yeah. Put on your big sarcasm girl pants. Because, like, dear Lord. Remember when these people tried to claim they were secular humanists? Imagine having empathy. Imagine having sympathy for somebody who was probably, when he said that, on a trip. Now, I'm not against having a giggle at others' misfortune. That's a thing that helps relieve your own stress in your own life. It's okay to get entertainment out of the nonsense of other people's lives. That's okay. But do not pretend like you're some kind of fucking angel of a person when you have a show dedicated to it.
So, as if we need to read into this anymore, I'm going to, but man, as he
Kyle,
called
fix your
911
internet.
That's the
Jesus
funny thing.
Christ.
He called 911.
On
He
himself.
called 911 himself, right, saying that he had been hit in the head with an axe and claimed that a ghost had done it and that a ghost had planted meth on him. According to the arrest report, deputies responded to a stabbing complaint to a in a residence in Monroe. Once they arrived, they were met at the front door by a man who was cursing at them and talking to people who obviously weren't there. Deputies say he was not nor cooperating, and later on, he eventually said he had been hit in the head by an axe. There were intruders in his room, and that ghost had planted approximately 1 gram of meth on the individual.
Imagine someone addicted to drugs on a trip saying some shit that makes no sense. Weird.
Duh.
Now, I have never. Cocaine was my drug of choice. I've never done meth. I've had some good coke, but I've never had coke that made me one, see things that weren't there, 2, claim that ghosts had assaulted me, or 3, that they were where I was getting my drugs from. So that had to be some really killer meth, I think.
Well, yeah, I think, with meth, though, the longer they're awake, I think the hallucinations are part of it because they're awake for so many days at a time.
That's true. Anything about that? He looks like he's been up for a while.
Yeah, I don't know anything about meth. It's a dirty, dirty drug.
Hey, I think meth works this way. I don't know anything about meth.
We need a meth expert. Dave, you're in Florida. Can you just walk outside and grab one?
I mean, I take prescription Adderall, and that doesn't make me hear voices.
That's close enough.
Well, no, I can't go outside and grab one. But I mean, I've taken ecstasy, which is related to meth. But I was really careful with it. It's like you take it once, and it makes you feel really good. But then you read up on it, and you realize, hey, if I keep taking it, all the serotonin in my brain is already gone. So then I'm just doing meth. So I might as well not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I love people that say I was real careful with it. That just means they didn't have enough to get.
No, it means
I'm really raging.
It means I did my research, Kyle. That's what it means.
Okay, you're a careful drug user. I feel you, Dave. That's good.
I am. I mean, I've never done sativa. I never would.
Again, I highly recommend. We're not here to talk about Kyle. I highly recommend you go and watch the interview with Ben, Kyle's ex-boyfriend. On the other hand, Katie, you're gonna try and compare meth with Adderall. I'm assuming she's kidding. Like, I'm assuming she's making a joke, right? Can we make that assumption? I don't even know if we can make that assumption.
Touch actual, just straight up hardcore meth. There's a lot of things I wouldn't touch. I wouldn't touch heroin. I wouldn't.
Is there a non-hardcore meth? Is that an option?
No, I don't think there is.
I don't think. I mean, no.
Kyle froze again.
Keep freezing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think with the power lines and stuff that are down around here still, that's probably causing some interference with me. Just bear with me, guys, on that. There's trees down everywhere around here. So so I said I was glad that hurricane season's almost over.
Yes. Hurricane Michael, he was a bitch.
He was. Super bitch. Okay, Dave.
Super bitch.
And actually, Katie wrote an article about this, so I'll let Katie take this one since she knows this one through and through. So, Katie?
Yeah. So this woman, I think it's in Ohio, isn't it? Yeah. She decided that her son decided that he wanted a tattoo, and she decided that was okay for some reason. And she invited a 16-year-old boy to come over and give her son a tattoo. And then she thought it would be great to put it on Facebook and stream it for everyone to watch. And then it got viral, and people kept calling the police for where she was at. And then it got reported. Turns out the 16-year-old.
Wait, you mean that somebody posted some dumb shit on the internet involving their child and people on the internet called, and you're saying that this is a good thing all of a sudden? Wait a minute. Hold up. This is Katie. This is Katie Joy. This is Without a Crystal Balls. Encouraging and applauding people on the internet interfering with people's real life and calling the police because they thought their behavior was inappropriate that they showed on the internet. Mother of the Year non-candidate charged with allowing her 10-year-old to be tattooed by a teenaged ink artist. Okay, so I got a question. Would it be, like, okay if it was an adult artist? Because these are the questions that run through my mind. What was the thing that was not okay about this? Was it the fact that the kid was 10 and not, like, at least 16? Or is it because the tattoo artist is being kind of who was a teenager, but they don't say how old of it. Was he 19? Or she 19? Or was she like 13? I should have got some beer for this. That blew my brain for a second there. Hold on.
Giving the 10-year-old a tattoo, didn't sterilize his equipment and didn't wear gloves and gross. Like, who knows what was on those needles? But there was no law in Ohio preventing a child from getting a tattoo, so you couldn't actually like charge her because she approved it.
So this woman didn't break any laws, and you're still okay with people calling the police on her? Okay, nah, it's Ohio.
But she did get charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor for the tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist actually got arrested too.
What, did it say what tattoo she got? I can just imagine her getting like a Sesame Street Thug Life or a Sunny D in that Gothic
It was
style font.
tiny, and it was on like his left shoulder. I don't know.
Capri,
it looked like a Capri Sun. He's so
I hope it was dick butt.
little and skinny, and like maybe one of the more disturbing factors of it is that like there's random like tweakers running around in the background with like no shirts on, and there's like the table is full of dirty stuff. It almost looks like there's drugs. It's like disgusting.
Shocking.
Wow, so you think that people on the internet should call the police and involve themselves when they think there's some inappropriate shit going on based off of somebody's live stream? Is that right? So if your house isn't up to somebody else's living standards, you'd be okay with them calling the police and saying it looks like there might be drugs? I just want some clarification on that.
Shocking.
Yeah, and it's in Ohio.
It seems like there's a recurring theme going through these stories, and that would be crystal meth. I'm pretty sure it's involved in each one of these.
Was this in Florida?
Whoa, and now apparently meth is involved when that wasn't a part of anything. Okay. All right.
Florida too?
No, this one was in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
You can go to the next one. Okay. Trump supporter calls 911 on black Lyft driver for not turning on the radio. A Trump supporter who berated his Lyft driver with the N-word has been fired from his job after a video went viral. Lyft driver Sean Letman of Brooklyn, New York, calmly filmed the 16 minutes by passenger Ortiz. He said jumped into the Lyft and said, "I'm going to make sure that while you're recording this, that you never have a job as a Lyft driver again." He said that I'm going to make your life a living hell. Turn on the radio, you piece of shit. And when the Lyft driver did not comply and turn the radio on, the guy decided it would be a good idea to call 911, because when you hear who's on the radio, I'm so out of touch with mainstream music. Who's on the radio now? Is Ariana Grande still big?
Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, Bruno Mars, Pink, Justin
Bieber.
Bieber.
2018.
Yeah, we'll go with Bieber.
Maroon 5. They're
top
still around.
40s.
Now, I just want to say, look how calm this gentleman who is driving the Lyft looks. And the guy in the back, you can just tell by looking at this picture that he is an asshole. I mean, he just has that air about him. But who calls 911 when someone won't turn the radio on? I could not understand.
With all their talk about weed, with all their talk about drugs, I'm kind of surprised they're not, like, trying to guess who's on what.
And this at all.
A racist jerk.
It's true. What did he expect 911 to do? Like, police come out and arrest the guy for not turning the radio? It's just bizarre.
Like,
bizarre.
Trump supporters are like the entitled jerk faces of the United States. That's all I know.
Jerk face is good. I like
That's
that.
all you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Well,
Trying to keep it clean.
speaking of jerk faces, let's look at a real big jerk face here.
Oh, God.
Although
Oh no,
although
Brett
this-
Kavanaugh.
I will say though, this story is funny because it's equally.
If there were ever two people whose opinions I needed to know about Brett Kavanaugh, it's these two. Oh no.
Jerk facey on both sides, okay? Because you have a.
And someone just tagged me on this on Twitter, like right before the show. It's funny.
Did they? Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because okay, so you have these sect of the sect of witches on October the 20th. Organizer has sold rights and interest of thousands, right? So about 60 people will be in attendance in the event, which will the ritual will include effigies, coffin nails, graveyard dirt, and a spell.
Sounds legit.
Um,
Can we spit?
For somebody who has like isn't Katie's husband like into pagan shit? She's pretty condescending about witches and hexes. I want to know what the hex does. What's it gonna do? Make him impotent or something? Like that would be the question I would ask.
Too? Can we spit?
You have to. I think that's required. But this is the funny part. She said that this bookstore has organized hexes before, including 3 last year on Trump. Now, let me some advice. State: do not Trump. He does a bad enough job without witchcraft, making him fuck up even more. So let's hold back on the on the hexes on Trump, please.
I know. I don't want to die. Like, I don't want our country to blow up. And you know what? If we hex him, then guess who we get for president? Mike Pence.
White bread,
Right?
the biggest piece of white toast on the planet. But yeah, it says that this.
Okay. Politics. Politics and religion. Please, witches out there, don't hex your representatives. Just vote local. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say to this. Oh. But yeah, I would agree with KG here. Mike Pence is problematic for a lot of reasons, mostly that separation of church and state thing.
Will be according to the rights of the school. It will validate, uphold, and support those who have been wronged and who refuse to be silent anymore. I get the sentiment. I get the desire to want to, hex anybody.
People pray every Sunday in churches en masse for their local politicians. And just point that out. No, nobody really says shit. So
if anybody deserves to be hexed, it would be Brett Kavanaugh. Just look at that face. I mean, just look at that face. But this is ridiculous, and it's a money thing. To me, it's a money thing because they have all of this publicity about it, and they're charging, I think, what, $20 a ticket. So if it's already sold out, I mean, that's the capitalism of the country. But I don't get it. I really don't. Okay, let me click.
says the guy who frauded the fans of this show and stole it, but okay.
All right, Dave, we can clear that out. Okay, so those are your dumb headlines for this week. I had to cut it back.
Those were the dumb headlines of that week. Most of those were like, horrible accident happened to human. Okay.
I had like 18 stories that I wanted to do, but I knew we couldn't do 18. There's just so much dumb news on the internet. And I was telling Katie the other day about my favorite story, which was this lady that got a couch, and she got the couch in the house, and it was comfortable for the first little bit that she had it, and she would sleep on the couch. But somewhere in that time, it got really stiff, apparently, and she lost her mind. And she claimed the couch was then possessed by demonic spirits who were stiffening the couch so that she couldn't sleep. And so
Okay, you should have put that one on instead of the woman who had the accident with her losing her eye. That would have been, like, actually a little bit more funny than like, the horrible accident that happened to this woman.
What do you think she did, Katie, to rid the
I don't know. Did she set it on fire?
She set it on fire, but she didn't pull the couch out of the house. She set it on fire inside her house.
See, that's funny.
I actually
That's a
looked the
dumb
story up.
story. That's
I looked the
like
story up.
you lit your own house on fire. Oops. Like, why is that not in your list? Why is horrible situation where woman is going to lose her eyeball? Poor kid gets fucking tattooed. These are sad stories. Put the one about the house on fire up. What the fuck? What are you doing?
It happened in Louisiana, right? And it was like in August, and she also looked like she was on meth.
Yep.
There's a big surprise.
The moral.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course. It looked like she was on meth. Katie likes to just kind of throw out that people are on meth based on all of the information she claims she doesn't have on meth. What are you doing? I don't know anything about meth, but that person looked like they were on meth. I don't know really anything about drugs, but it looked like there were definitely people that were all on drugs in that thing. Oh my god, just do the one about the couch and leave out the fucking speculation about drugs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The moral
don't
of
do
the story
meth.
tonight is don't do meth.
Don't do meth. So
You guys,
now I'm going to turn it over to take us through what natural births are and how they can be dangerous for women.
Side note, somebody in the chat had, I lost who that was. Somebody in the chat asked me to link to the interview with Ben. I will do that once once this is over, the stream is over. I will link that in the description down below if you're interested. So that'll be there. And so will the link to this video if you're interested in doing whatever you want with it.
yeah. So this story has gone crazy. So to give you kind of I work with a group of people online.
Side note, just for future, I'm making this like a future side note to myself. Don't put yourselves at the bottom like this because your faces keep getting cut off by the closed captioning. So maybe move yourselves up here or something like that. Just for future effort. This is a note for myself and for anybody else who's streaming out there. Solid tip, closed captioning will cover up your faces if you're on the bottom.
That are wonderful, and they find it's a bunch of skeptics, and I'm in a bunch of different
Thank you very much, Unveiling. Thank you.
groups on Facebook, and they know that I write about different topics, and a lot of my readers are always trying to kind of farm out and find articles for me to write about, and if they find something good that they think I should write about, they'll send me and drop me some links, or they'll drop me some screenshots.
Wow, you mean you've got other people doing your research for you and finding the information that you then just kind of culminate and write an article about, if you even culminate it and don't just rip it the fuck off? Wow, I'm so surprised. I am so absurdly shocked that how could such a journalist with so much integrity do something like that? Oh my god. Anyway.
On Thursday, one of my readers, she sent me like 45 screenshots of this crazy story out of California. I follow a page called Detox, Anti-Vax, and Woo Insanity. It's on Facebook. And they kind of like share just like the crazy woo stuff. Like they have trolls like in every single group on Facebook that does the woo stuff. And they had been following the story. I had no idea they were following the story because I hadn't checked in like a week. And she dumped like 45 screenshots. And then I actually messaged that page and I was like, do you know about the story? And she's like, we've been following it. So that page also helped me with this story, but it's crazy. So the Free Birth Society, it's a Facebook group, and it's a group of women who believe that the birthing experience.
How many? How big is the group? That seems like it would be important, like for how big of a deal it is, right? Like, so if it's like a Facebook group of like 20 people versus if it's a Facebook group of 100 people versus if it's a Facebook group of 1,000 people versus a Facebook, you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the scale of the size of this group probably matters.
Is theirs and theirs only, and they want to birth in the wild, meaning they want to birth away from hospitals. It could be in their homes, it could be in a stream, it could be on a toilet, it could be
not in the actual wild.
Some of them do, though. Like I literally was on YouTube and I saw a woman giving birth in a stream. I'm not even kidding you. I also found a video of a woman like literally giving birth to her kid into a toilet. It was disgusting. A lot of them are pretty, I know, a lot of them are pretty benign.
Katie, what does your toilet look like? You know, it's supposed to be clean most of the time, right? That's the flushing option. That's what it's supposed to do, is keep things... The whole point of a toilet is to keep things sanitary. Just... Did you not know that? I don't know.
Like, it's like, you know, a lot of birthing tubs and stuff for home birth, which is fine. I mean, a lot of women give birth at home and nothing happens. It's just a lot of home birthers have individuals that are there to help them. And a lot of home birthers will go through the proper prenatal care to ensure that they and the baby are healthy and, you know, viable for a home birth, because so much can go wrong with pregnancy. What the free birthers do is they're just like completely against ultrasounds, prenatal testing, blood work. They think like gestational diabetes testing is a racket.
Hey, look! Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I know I saw it. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? I saw you in here, you wiener. There's Christy! Christy Santiago! Yeah! I know I saw somebody tag Smitty in here. At Smitty. Where you at, Smitty? I seen you. I see people tagging you in here. Where you at? I don't know. Either way, Smitty was there.
They think like testing for ultrasound disrupts the fetus, and it is like, you know, X-ray and like whatever, but they think even like checking for the fetal heartbeat is bad. They say that like doctors checking the cervix during labor is akin to rape. They're just very against midwives. Yeah, they're very against midwives. They're very against OB/GYNs. They believe that bodies are made for this. And that's what they say is our body.
Well, I mean, they're not really wrong. Your body is generally designed to be able to handle stuff like that and like if the pregnancy goes wrong, the pregnancy goes wrong. We did this for hundreds of thousands of years. So without the medical advancements that we had, so they're not wrong about that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being naturalist if that's what you want to be. You're not doing any harm to anybody. I don't know what this problem is. I mean, I could see a problem being like, hey, I think this ultrasound is going to harm my baby. Okay, this is non sequitur. Please explain what an ultrasound is and why it is not harmful. That would be like the meat of an episode like this.
Bodies are made for this, and we are going to take back the birthing experience. And they write blogs about nasty logs to like midwives and doctors, and they use all their pseudoscience. So
what pseudoscience? That they think ultrasounds are bad? Okay, what's the pseudoscience that they believe the ultrasound is bad? If they're saying that, hey, x-rays are dangerous, because they are, there's a reason why you wear lead and shit. Radiation is dangerous, so what makes an x-ray or an ultrasound acceptable? Because the radiation is low enough? Because it's such a small amount? Because it's so specifically targeted? Why? Explain what the pseudoscience is. What about them having this belief is pseudoscience? They can just be wrong. I'm expecting too much.
As you can imagine, there's a lot of crazy stories that come out of this page because women are literally having kids with no help at home, and you can only imagine what can go wrong, right?
Why don't you applaud these women? You're pro women and feminism, right? Like, isn't she pro that kind of stuff? Shouldn't she be applauding women who want to and are able to get through something like that without additional help? Because that's their own choice? I mean, I wouldn't choose that, and I would have my own reasons to or to not, but she's calling this pseudoscience, but I don't know what part is the pseudoscience yet. I just don't know why they're so judgmental about it.
So this week, or actually it happened on the 7th, so a week ago, a woman, shared her story on Facebook, and she had been sharing her story in the group, and her baby died. And it's actually pretty sad. This first slide is, let me see.
Actually pretty sad instead of definitely pretty sad or just pretty sad. Actually pretty sad.
See, let me just pull it up. I can read it to you, but you should be able to see it. She's essentially like telling everyone about her experience where she's decided that she is going to have a free birth, and she has opted not to do any prenatal care. She has not gone to any appointments. She went to one appointment when she was 8 weeks pregnant, and then she never went back to the doctor after that. She shared with her friends and family that she was going to do that she was not going to have a doctor, a midwife. She was going to birth on her own because she knew how to do it. I'm trying to find it now. Where is it?
And so the thing to me, just from hearing what you've said so far, it just to me sounds so selfish.
It is. I mean, and so the free birth.
Why?
Society is like, they say that we're selfish and self-absorbed and this is just about the mom, but this is about women taking back their power and giving their babies like natural birthing experiences. It's 100% all about the mother with zero regard for what will happen to the baby. That's it. I mean, these women care more about...
Hold on. No, it's not. You already explained that they think ultrasounds and x-rays are dangerous to their child. And you've explained that they don't want to take any kind of like painkillers, presumably because they also think that's dangerous. So, no, it's not. It's absolutely based on protecting their kids. Did she not just fucking say that, like, 2 minutes ago? Didn't she just explain how it was about protecting kids? I can't, this is just, to me, this is just, seems to be misinformation about I mean, I guess she separated out whether or not something is, like, a more natural birth versus, like, free birth, and free birth is, like, a more... I don't want to say, like, extreme. Extreme sounds like a little bit more, like, too aggressive of a term. It's just more liberal, I guess. It's just, like, a step further than what would be, like, a natural thing. But if they believe this thing is dangerous, then it makes sense for them to not want to do it that way. That's protecting their kid. So what about it is selfish and only about the woman in that case? I mean, I might disagree with them. I might think that it might be wrong. I might think that they're incorrect in their assessment on information, but they're certainly not doing it out of a selfish desire. I just think that's kind of judgmental, I guess would be the word I would use. But hey.
The fact that they want to have this amazing experience with birth and they don't want to be bothered. And that's more important to them on whether or not...
Wow, imagine not wanting to be bothered. Weird. I mean, I can relate to not wanting to be bothered.
The child lives or the outcome of the birth. And birth is literally the most dangerous time and period of a woman's life. There's a reason why women give birth in hospitals. We do it so that we don't die. I mean, I've been through birth and it's not fun.
To me, it's the one situation that you're in where...
You know, there are some women who actually enjoy being pregnant and kind of, like, want to do it more than one time. And you know what? Being a mom isn't for everybody. Not everybody makes a good parent. And that's okay. There's no judgment. Not everybody's good at it. I may or may not end up being a good parent in the future. I might be a shit parent. That's the way it is. And sometimes you don't know until you do it. But,
you are essentially in control of two lives, not just one. Like you can't just think about you. You have another life that you're bringing into the world. And
but they
to
are
me,
thinking
you
about
want to make
that.
sure that you cover every basis, every precaution, have, your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and to just throw all those science and the advancements in medicine and all that away, just so you can. I think it's a moniker thing. People like to say, "Yeah, I did it naturally." It's totally selfish.
Yeah, so this woman, her name is Lauren Holiday, and I didn't name her name in the piece, but her name has been all over social media.
I didn't name her in the piece for some reason that I'm not explaining, but I'm gonna drop it here. Okay, all right.
media at this point, so I feel comfortable in saying her name at this point. I went out of my way not to name her, but she's been outed at this point. She lives in California in Joshua Tree.
She's been outed at this point, so I don't care anymore. Like, let's just out her more, I guess. Okay.
With her boyfriend, who is a guitarist, I think, for, I don't know. It's weird. I was on his Instagram, and I think he's somehow connected to Ryan Cabrera. Remember that guy that had like a hit like a million years ago? And now I don't know. He's like friends with this guy. And yeah. So he's like in his band or something, or plays in his band, or he's friends with this guy. And so they're this new agey couple, and they live off the grid. And like, she doesn't like, they don't have running water. They only have cold water, not hot water. They don't have a bathroom, only an outdoor shower.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to, because Smitty made a point in the chat that I do want to point out, well, what if they want to give birth into a fire pit because they believe that the fire is going to grant their children power? They're not going to have very many people that are going to go along with that. They're not going to be able to propagate very well if you just, dump a baby into a fire pit. But if they're doing it because they believe the fire will grant their children power, then no, they're putting their own life at risk more because they want to give more to their child. That is the opposite of selfish. That is putting yourself at risk for the benefit of the other thing. Selfish just is not the right word. Incorrect, misguided, wrong would be words that would apply, but selfish, I don't think would.
She wants to live dangerously and not in peaceful slavery, she says. And it's a very privileged.
What does that mean?
It's these wealthy white women who literally are so privileged by a society that vaccinates and has good health care and has good sanitation that they believe that they need to take back and be with their ancestors and be like women were in the early 2,000 years ago when we died and like men dragged us by our hair, I don't know.
Fundamental problem in society when we are so there are a group of people that are so.
Hey, remember earlier when we saw that she bought herself that shirt about how the fall she's into is the fall of the patriarchy? You guys remember that? Do you think
privileged to the point where they are too privileged to use indoor plumbing when they say that they're too privileged to have a bathroom? Like, that is I think is a staple. If you don't have a bathroom or like a place to take a shower whenever you want to, like an out.
You mean like when you're gonna be in jail, Kyle? You mean like then? The life that you chose? Oh, if it isn't the consequences of my actions.
And these people aren't, I'm sorry, but I don't know their financial situation, but if you're hanging out with Ryan Cabrera, you're not poor. You're not. You're running around.
I don't know their financial situation, but I'm going to expound upon their financial situation.
Around in Hollywood. So, it's just privilege. And it's fake.
Did you guys know that there's not a single poor person in Hollywood?
It's that whole mystic new age bullcrap,
Yeah.
And so I honestly knew very little about this woman. And anyway, so in this first slide, she's basically talking about how she...
there's a lot of people who live in tiny homes that don't use like plumbing, like standard plumbing. They still have like a bathroom. Sometimes they'll have some running water. Some of them don't have any running water. Some of them do a lot of different things. Tiny homes are actually very interesting, and there's lots of different workarounds where you would not actually necessarily even have a bathroom in some of them. So does that, she just gonna shit on all those people? Is that where we're at? What about those people? No?
Are healthy and, viable for a home birth, because so much can go wrong about the mother with zero regard for what will happen to the baby. I don't know. It's weird. I was on his Instagram. It's fake. It's that whole mystic new age bullcrap,
Yeah.
And so I honestly knew very little about this woman. And anyway, so in this first slide, she's basically talking about...
I obviously knew very little about this woman, so I decided to write a whole article about judging her and her life choices. Yay! Like I said, there's nothing wrong with like having a guffaw or having a giggle at something that you think is stupid. I think that's fine, because they're gonna do the same thing to you, and sometimes like the way you process something is like, wow, that's silly, wow, that's dumb, haha. It's another thing to... This is not the way to have this kind of discussion. If you want to have a discussion, bring on somebody from the Facebook group and have them explain to you, and then bring on somebody who like is a nurse or it's like somebody who works in prenatal care and have them discuss. That is how you have that kind of a conversation. You don't just be a judgy bitch about it. Like, talk to them and be like, okay, so why do you think this? What is it about this? Why do you think this is bad? What makes you think this is a good idea? Well, let's have the counterpoint and explain why maybe you're wrong. Like, she's not explaining dick. She's just saying this lady's wrong based on her opinion, I guess, which she said she knows nothing about.
How she has her boyfriend's friend who is concerned enough about her and her unborn child has expressed to her multiple times that he is concerned about her choice to have no prenatal care, and wants to know if she's going to have a crazy hippie birth. And so she says, I'm 29 weeks along and I have already explained my reasons, my beliefs, and the reasons behind each belief to him so many times already that the time I just said yep and was ready to change the subject. He pressed on about how we need to at least get to know the docs in our area just in case. So I told him that as a healthy woman, I trust that I know what's best for my body and my baby. And I know that this is the right choice for this family. And he said I was naive and believing I was healthy and that only a doctor can tell if you're healthy. He told me that only a doctor can tell if I'm healthy. Wait, what? She has like 2 emojis going like this. Then went on to tell us how irresponsible and reckless we are since we haven't gone for any checkups. At this point, all we could do was just smile and nod. You can explain yourself a million times with logic and proof, but a person unwilling to have an open mind to relearn will never see things differently than what we have been brainwashed to believe.
Take a vote in the chat if you think they're going to complain that the man should have some kind of say in how she gives birth or not. I'm curious to know what you guys think, if they're going to go there or not, because that's an Wrote no last name for 5 says, I'm currently living in a tent in an oak forest with no grid while holding down a full-time job. I'm doing just fine. See? You know that you can live a little bit more naturalistically without being into pseudoscience?
He left shortly after and we brushed off his negativity and carried on our wonderful day by recharging naked in the sun. Gross.
Oh, recharging.
Why is recharging naked? Why is sunbathing gross? Why is a pregnant woman sunbathing gross? Why are you thrown off by the word recharging? Is it because you're thinking about your JO crystals? You know, people could like sit down, read a book, and recharge, right? Like that's common phrasing. Why? What? Why is naked woman going into this? Like, because, okay, you might view this, if you hadn't, like, been familiar with KJ, you might view this as, like, oh, maybe she's talking about all the other stuff about this situation is gross, but she's not. She's being very specific about that she didn't get that look and uncomfort on her face until she got to the line that the woman was naked sunbathing. What the fuck?
Right?
So she said that the doctor said that only a doctor can tell if you're healthy, correct?
Her boyfriend's friend was like, I guess, pushing back on her and saying like, how do you know that you're healthy? Right? You don't know that you're healthy. And that's very true. You know, yes. Pregnancy can have a lot of things can happen in your pregnancy. I, for instance, my liver enzymes were elevated.
Hey, Katie, how did you know you had COVID before anybody else? Is it because you should go to a doctor and see if that's what you actually had? That only the doctor can tell if you're sick ever? Listen, I'm not saying that people shouldn't go to the doctor and get regular checkups. Do that. That's a good idea. You should do that. And if you have reasons why you don't do that aren't laziness, because that would be me, I understand that. If you have reasons that you're like, no, anti-big pharma, that's a conversation that can be had. But if,
I developed placenta previa, which meant my placenta was on top of my cervix. You know, if you don't have an ultrasound and you have no understanding of like what's going on in your womb, you literally have no idea if the baby has a good environment, if they're being fed correctly, if they're growing correctly, you know, if there's infections, if you are a carrier of infections. Many pregnant women develop infections like strep B. We can have UTIs that can go into the uterus. I mean, there's so many things that can affect the baby because it's connected to you. So he was right. It is naive to believe that you're healthy.
agree.
I mean, I would agree with that. It is naive to believe that you're healthy if you have no reason or something. If you have no reason to believe that you're sick and you're just going about your day-to-day life, then yeah. Right? You're not going to go to the doctor, because why? I mean, going for a regular checkup's all good and all, but if you have no reason to believe that you're sick, then you're not going to go. But if you're going through something like a pregnancy, yeah, go get checked out. But she's not addressing the person's issues. You're just telling her that you're wrong, you're stupid, and we're gonna shame you for it. We're gonna say you're putting people at risk. You're killing people. Your baby. $5 in the chat if she says her baby died because of her behavior, because she didn't go to the doctor, because she didn't do this. Okay, well, explain why she should be going besides just shaming her. Explain what the problem is. Explain why she doesn't need to be afraid of ultrasounds. Dear God.
And understand this desire to want to go back to the way that our ancestors gave birth. They didn't have a choice.
Shut up,
the reason that they gave birth the way they did was because there was no alternative. And it's not a better method. It was just the only method that they had at the time.
I'm adding a caveat in here. Kyle has absolutely zero fucking experience in any of this whatsoever. He's just running his goddamn mouth. He doesn't know shit about anything. I'm just throwing that out. Just wanted to put a little disclaimer there.
Right, exactly. It's not like they willingly chose that. And but the thing is that even when women were doing this back then, they at least had midwives. I mean, we've had midwives in the United States since the colony, since the 1500s. So it's not like.
Hey, KJ, how many people don't make it to the hospital and give birth in a car every year? I'm curious to know. Did you look up any of that information before you decided to go on your tangent? Inquiring minds.
We've been willy-nilly having babies out in the wild. We haven't. We've had help, and we need help. Childbirth is extremely dangerous.
Surely she had people that were going to be there, though, with her to do this. So.
I like how Kyle accused these women of clout chasing by being like, oh yeah, no, I did it by myself. Look at me show off. What the fuck, dude? You talk to any of these people? No.
Just her boyfriend. That's it. In this remote location.
These people should not be allowed to reproduce ever again. Like, they should both be sterilized.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. Speak. These people should be sterilized because they're not giving birth in a way that we think is appropriate because they might kill their children. Dipshit, if you think they're all going to die or they're not likely to, have successful pregnancies, then you don't need to, because they will not be able to pass on their genetics nor raise a child. Just shut up, Kyle.
So, yeah, I mean, so what really compelled me to share the story wasn't so much like the atrociousness of it and the fact that these free birthers are lunatics. It was more that her story was very parallel to the birthing experience that I had. And when I was reading through.
Oh, of course it was. Of course. This is parallel to you. Every story is parallel to you, KG. Every single fucking one of them.
All of the screenshots, and I'm not going to share all of them with you. I didn't even share them in my article because I didn't think it was really necessary to see, every single thing that she said and what people were saying back to her. The overall story is that the woman made a horrible choice, right? And she had this really, really hard labor. And she, from the start, she went into labor and she was having really severe contractions. She was throwing up. She was having back pain. And she wasn't progressing. Day after day after day, she was logging into this Free Birth Society webpage on Facebook, this group, and describing how her labor was basically stalled. And, she's talking about back pain. She's talking about vomiting. She's talking about contractions coming really, really fast. And that was very similar to how my own labor was. And my son was stuck on my pubic bone. And so there was a lot of similarities where I tried to push for 4 hours. I threw up the whole time. My contractions were super powerful. I was in labor.
Did you just say 4 hours after describing how this person was in labor for days? That's comparable.
Labor for 3 days, so she.
Now, okay. All right. Press X to doubt. X in the chat, please.
her water breaks, I think like the second day of her labor. And when her water breaks, she notices that the discharge isn't clear. And so typically when your water breaks, like for instance, like amniotic fluid is clear. So a baby that's like in your tummy.
Wait, did you just admit this woman actually did some research and knew that when your water breaks, it's usually and supposed to be clear, and she recognized that it wasn't? And she knew that, meaning that she did some fucking research about birthing when you said she didn't know anything about what she was fucking doing? After you, like, just completely dismissed her. Well, okay.
They're just in this clear fluid. And when your water breaks, it's like, it looks literally like water. It shouldn't have, there might be like little tinges of blood. That's not abnormal, but she was describing that it was like brown. And that's a sign of meconium, which is fecal, like baby fecal matter. Basically, like the babies during the birthing process, they defecate, right? I mean, they're just like you or I, they get rid of their waste. The danger is that when they're in the uterus and the water is there, everything is sort of like protected and they don't get exposed to bacteria and that kind of stuff. But once the water's gone, all of that bacteria can get onto the baby, and the baby is exposed to all of those germs. The baby can also inhale their poop. They can aspirate on it. They can develop pneumonia. It's a really big deal if your child like swallows it.
Yeah, like she's not wrong about this. It's also like very common for women. Like pregnancy's messy, and the baby's gonna get covered in a lot of nonsense. Some of it literally shit. So
she notices that her discharge is brown. And she's in this group and she's like, well, I don't know. I think my baby might have smelled like maybe it's swallowed some meconia. I'm not sure. And like the mothers are like, oh, that's fine. Like, it's okay if your discharge is a little bit brown. No big deal. My baby swallowed it. They're just, oh, fine. It's not fine. Like babies can die from it, but whatever. So, that happens, right? Well, as the days go on, that discharge gets more and more brown and it starts to stink, right? And she's not progressing. I mean, she is laboring for like 4 days and nothing's happening.
4 days?
Yes. Right?
God.
So in the hospital, typically if you have had your water broken, and this is why this resonated for me is because my birth was very long, is my water broke on a Tuesday, but I didn't deliver until a Thursday evening. I had to be given antibiotics because my water had been broken for so long. And the longer your baby is exposed to like the amniotic fluid has like, when your cervix is open, any bacteria can get in there, right? And so they can...
Anybody who pressed X, congrats.
develop infections. Your uterus can also develop infections when it's open like that. So it's a really risky time. And so in a hospital, typically they would give you an antibiotic by an IV while you're in labor to prevent you and the child from developing an infection, right? So when I was in the hospital...
So what you're saying is that the baby is going to get covered in all kinds of shit and piss and blood and whatever. And they can swallow it. And that's a normal thing that's going to happen. It's just in a hospital that you get antibiotics for. This is why she is shit at this. You're making the women sound like they were correct. And you're, like... This is why you don't approach these kinds of conversations like this. If you have somebody who says... This woman said, oh, hey, this happened. I'm afraid my baby swallowed some of this. And the rest of them go, it's okay, that's normal. Babies will swallow that thing. And you say, no, it's not, and then proceed to explain how, yes, that's a normal thing that happens. You just proved them right. The difference here isn't whether or not the child swallows this or is exposed to these germs. The child is going to be exposed to these germs, hospital or not. The difference is the antibiotics and the prevention that takes place in a hospital that she did not have access to. Katie sucks at this. Dear Lord.
Hospital, I got an antibiotic, which prevented me and my son from getting sick. Thankfully, she, on the other hand, didn't have that, right? And so she has this like goop coming out of her and she doesn't do anything. And the group does nothing to say, like, they don't tell her to go to the hospital. They don't tell her to seek help. They're telling her how to reposition her child. They're telling her how to do different progressions. They're telling her to get into a bath. They're basically like, you can do it. Yay, rah, rah, rah. When clear.
They're her emotional support system in their belief. Of course they're telling her that. They're giving her advice on how to help with the situation when they've already agreed that the hospital is not something that they want. You'd be better off arguing that in an emergency situation where something like this has happened, yes, go to the hospital and make it part of the group rules and explain why. Rather than being like, oh, these people didn't say the thing that of course they didn't say. I'm shocked and appalled at this. But look, you literally just described how they were attempting to help that woman. I mean, this is what... I don't agree with this. I think that she should have gone to the hospital, but this is not how you argue against that. God damn it.
Clearly, this pregnancy has not progressed, or the labor has not progressed. She has potential meconium in her, uterus that the baby has been exposed to. There's some sort of infection going on. The baby is not coming out. So she's, this is a high-risk pregnancy at this point, but she's not doing anything about it. So finally,
Wrong. She is doing things about it. She's just not doing what you think she ought to do about it. Now, are you right in what you think she should be doing? Or do people agree with you that that's the thing that she should be doing? Maybe, maybe not, depending on who you are. I think she ought to go to the hospital, for sure. Yeah, go to the hospital. There's shit going wrong. Clearly, her thing was like, I'm not going to the hospital, I'm not sick. Well, here's a demonstration of you being sick. Go to the hospital. That would be the argumentation I would use. But to say she's doing nothing is just factually not the case, because you just described how she went to her support group, was updating them, and like the professionals, whatever, that she thought she should listen to, and they were giving her advice on what she should do. She didn't not do anything. She just didn't go to the fucking hospital, and should she have? Yeah, because her main thing was like, I'm not gonna go to the hospital to the doctor if I'm not sick. Well, clearly you're sick now, so go. That's the argument you make. Not, oh, well, let me just dismiss the thing she's doing by calling it nothing. Judgy McJudgy pants. This is... Maybe it's because of shit argumentation and shit information that people like you put out, Katie, is why this woman didn't end up going to the hospital. Maybe shitty argumentation is not helpful.
Everything goes silent and she doesn't respond, and people are trying to check in and they're like bumping the thread. And then all of a sudden, is this the thread that has you can probably go to the one where she's talking about things not going to plan, Dave.
Oh, I think that's number 3, Dave.
Oh, yeah, we can skip number 2. That doesn't, the other slide was just that she's an anti-vaxxer, of course, right? Like, of course she's an anti-vaxxer. So after all of that's said and done, right? So she goes through this whole process, and she's, here, I'll read it to you. So sometimes nothing seems to go according to plan. That's been the theme of this pregnancy. Lots of moving, shifting business, living in a hotel randomly, and so much in between. But through all this crazy spontaneous plan shifts, my partner Chris and I have been strongly united together through it all. Our plan together since day one was an unassisted home birth. We researched everything out there and felt so prepared. It wasn't the easiest pregnancy, as I felt like I had every blah symptom pregnant ladies experienced. But I knew it'd be worth it because it was just a matter of time before we'd have our baby. On October 1st, labor began, and it was all-nighter of surges. Then the sun rose and it stopped. It continued like that until the 4th. So 3 days. 3 days. Then the surges got terrible, and on top of one another from 7:30 p.m. on the 3rd to 7:30 p.m. on the 4th, when I think I basically passed out from exhaustion. The owner of the Free Birth Society, Emily Saldea, was kind enough to stay in contact with her through the worst of it when I thought I was going to die. So the founder of Free Birth Society was helping her through this, right? Which is just gross. And then
yeah, it's really gross to help out and try and do your best to support the people in your fucking community, KJ. Really gross. Really, really disgusting to help other people that are going through a really difficult fucking time. If only she had gone to someone like you, who would have given her misinformation, not argued very well whatsoever, that might be successful in changing somebody's mind, and then left out to dry. If only.
I really appreciate her kindness and support through this process. As the surges keep coming every day, but still no baby, just making me more and more tired, and my body aches everywhere. Nothing I could do would ease the pain, but I tried so hard to stay positive. My water broke on the evening of the 4th and was discolored. Since I was 42 weeks pregnant, which is another red flag, anytime your baby is that overdue, they have a higher risk of dying. They have a higher risk of infection. There's a reason why OBs don't let you go past a certain period of time. But she didn't go to the doctor, so whatever. So since I was 42 weeks, I thought it was normal that her discharge would be brown. Babies can, like, the uterus can start calcifying if the baby's in there too long. But as the days went by, it got more foul smelling and turned a sick poop color, which was constantly leaking, and then the baby stopped moving on the 6th. I woke up on the 7th in so much pain, pouring meconium that Chris and I agreed it was time to transfer. Only after the baby stopped moving and she was pouring fecal matter out of her vagina did she decide to go to the hospital. Her labor started on the 1st.
So she was willing to go to the hospital if she knew she was sick. Maybe that my argument from earlier was correct. That maybe the argumentation should not be fuck these people and these women. It should be, hey, here's the contingency. Here's proper information that will, if this happens, and this happens, consider it an emergency and go to the hospital. Make it clear what an emergency situation might be by educating people about pregnancies. That would have saved this woman. How much you want to bet Katie hasn't, like, done shit for educating people in this whole video about pregnancy? No, you're shitting on this woman whose fucking story is likely to save lives because of how horrible it was and how awful of a story this is, right?
First, she goes to the hospital on the 7th. At 9:30 a.m., we are admitted, and as soon as they saw the color and the smell of the fluids coming out, the first thing they did was listen by a Doppler for the heartbeat. Nothing. After bringing in three different levels of technology to find the baby, they informed us that their baby was gone. They found that her head was only an inch from exiting. So they found out that she was an inch from exiting, and they had set me up to start pushing. So basically, she has to deliver the dead baby, right? And so they had to get a vacuum out. Her baby had shoulder dystocia, which is basically like sometimes in birth, babies can get twisted. And so instead of being like coming out where they're going to be their head facing down, they're kind of twisted to the side and their shoulder can get stuck underneath the pubic bone. And that's what happened to my son. And so no matter how hard you push, the baby can't go through a bone. And so in order to remove that for women, they'll do C-sections or they'll do vacuums or forceps. So for hers, it looks like they used a vacuum. So anyway, she goes through this long story about how like she has to go through this horrific childbirth to a dead baby. They have to knock her out because she's so hysterical. And she didn't understand what was going on. And he had to like stick his arm all the way up just to get the baby out. Eventually they get the baby out. The baby's like, all of the baby's bones are broken. It looks like horrific. It says that she had several broken bones and they brought the baby over to me and I finally got to see my daughter. And she says, Journey Moon Martini was born a sleeping angel. Mm-hmm. She passed away due to a massive uterine infection. So she had a huge infection. Yeah, you can just go through those slides. I was just reading through them.
When did the baby actually die?
So she says that she felt the baby moving on the 6th, but the baby stopping moving on the 6th didn't even make her go to the hospital. And if you're a man and you've never been pregnant, but like babies that are full term, they're busy and they kick and they're moving all around and you can feel them. So if they go quiet and she didn't go and see.
All right. As wholesome as I tried to be, I see almost no difference between KJ in October of 2018 and KJ of 2021. The handling of this story by both Kyle and KJ is horrific. The information, the way this is put out, the way this is described and is presented this is the first episode. This is what you decided to make your first episode? These are sensitive subjects. These are things that matter to people. If you want to help and you want to argue and you want to educate, then do that. That's not what this is. You're not helping anybody. Now, if you just want to have a giggle and be like, aha, anti-vax is stupid. Well, okay, you can do that. Or if you want to say, ha, getting vaccinated is stupid. Well, okay, you can do that. But don't pretend you're a journalist. Don't pretend that you're just covering a story, because you have no tact whatsoever. None. Zero. Like the way... Argumentation is not that complicated. If dismissing people is not going to change people's minds. Hanging up on them, your God's not real, click, isn't going to change people's minds. Your show being feminism and then just taking this group of fucking women and shitting all over them when they were wrong, but they certainly tried. They certainly tried. I would want to have, the way I would approach this is I would want to have this Emily person on and say, have you made any changes to your group and the group's rules to ensure that something like this does not happen again? What have you learned from this? What can we, because this is an awful thing that happened. It happened, it's over. How do we move forward? What do we think is good? What do we think is bad? How do you if you want to have this naturalistic style of birth, how can you have it in the safest way possible? Where are those emergency lines where you go to the hospital? Is it when there's discoloring? But the thing is you also get this problem of her just contradicting herself. She said, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they don't know anything about anything, and they're just doing a home birth, whatever. But then acknowledged that she recognized that this is supposed to be clear and it's not. How many times has fucking KJ talked about kids? Particularly ones that are no longer living. Neither of them have any sympathy nor empathy for this woman, despite whether or not you believe she is right or wrong in what she did. Secondly, right, Smitty makes a good point. Rule number 1, be in the hospital before a medical emergency happens. Correct. So that's why I would argue this and say, change what you consider a medical emergency. Clearly, they waited too long. But if the medical emergency is considered, your water broke and it's not clear, go to the hospital. You move that gauge. Pregnant woman went out to sunbathe. Gross. Katie, 2018. I have a headache. No, I don't. I don't actually have a headache. I'm lying. I feel like I should. This is not the way you have this conversation. This isn't helpful. This isn't activism. This isn't feminism. This is taking somebody's trauma and tragedy and shitting on it for views. Because you think your audience is going to think this woman was dumb. And you're going to treat her like shit. Remember when she said that she didn't name this woman in her article? And then turned around and was like, oh, well, her name got out, so I'm just going to blast it more. But it's always about her, right? I don't know. I was hoping this would be a little bit more funny and a little bit less horrifying. I am going to go and find a resource for information on pregnancy now that I can put in the link and that I can link in the description, as well as go find that thing for Ben, because now I feel like there's a PSA that needs to happen of educate yourself if you're gonna get pregnant. Educate yourself, please. Educate yourself on early childhood care, educate yourself on childhood development, or educate yourself on pregnancy, what you're going to need. I'm going to go get some links so that way people can have an easier time finding the information that Katie didn't fucking provide. If you want to watch the rest of this video, it will also be linked in the description down below, and if you guys, this is the same shit she's doing in 2021. Depending on how you phrase it, profiting off of the dead. So her career on YouTube was literally built on this shit, because this is basically where she got her start. Some things never change. Karen Bluebird for 10 said, I had 4 miscarriages. K-Day said something in a video a while back that made me cry. Then I got so angry I wanted to punch her. No empathy or sympathy for anyone. Katie is constantly hurting people. That sucks. That sucks. I'm sorry that happened to you. I would say just do your best not to let Katie get to you. Everything about this was awful. This is the end of our wholesome week. And we ended it with garbage. Complete fucking garbage. This is irresponsible, in my opinion. This is kind of gross in others, depending on how you decide to view it. But one of the things that she talked about before this, when she was up Pathos, was Jilly Juice and how it was able to kill you. Isn't there a term for people who basically profit off of the death of others? I think there's a term for it, but I can't remember what it is. If you think of the term, leave it in the comments down below, because I cannot remember what it is. No, you're good. You don't have to apologize to me. This whole thing is frustrating. It's hard to have a conversation. It's difficult to have a conversation with people that you so vehemently disagree with because you believe that somebody is putting somebody else in danger. The abortion conversation is similar. If people are against abortion and people who are pro-abortion, right? One side believes that getting an abortion is murder. The same way that Kyle and KJ believe that this person what they believe is irresponsible, not going to the hospital, etc., not seeing a doctor, etc., is killing this child. Right? Trauma vulture? Yeah. So, right now, Katie and Kyle have put themselves on the anti-abortion side of this particular argument. The same kind of position, different argument. So, how do you argue it? Right? As far as I ever knew, both of them were pro-choice. I don't know. It was kind of interesting seeing her making fun of witches, though, casting hexes and praying the same way a religious person would, like a Christian would. It wouldn't be a hex on their part, but praying to their God to change the outcome of something. Meanwhile, her husband into, like, some pagan shit. I don't know. Let's get out of here. Let's wash our hands of this travesty, and we'll see who was right next week about whether or not KJ is still talking about somebody who died, and I'll find something else to talk about if that's all she's talking about, and just, we're gonna clock it, but we're not gonna, you know, spend so much time on it. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go clean something, probably. Maybe get some food. But, let me get out of here. I agree that this woman should have gone to the hospital. I agree that this woman was irresponsible with her choices. However, I think that Kyle and Katie's approach is trash and harmful and does way more damage than it actually is helpful to anybody. Have a good night, everybody. That's where we'll leave it off. I will be live tomorrow, and if you didn't see my Brendan Fraser video, go look at the Brendan Fraser video. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye.